We will 17th DeSoto City Council meeting to order. We'll start with roll call, please.
Lane. Here. Daniels.
Here.
Michael.
Here.
Ritter.
Here.
Murdoch.
Here.
Okay. I would now invite you all to please rise and welcome. Mike, you want to
Yes,
Brandon?
I would take the opportunity to formally
Let's do that.
introduce Brandon Mills, the new city clerk. Been with us since Monday. I think he's still here Thursday, so yeah. Really glad to have him on board. He's going to be able to help me out and backfill some of my responsibilities as well. He's fitting in nicely and keeps coming back, so looking forward to this. So welcome, Brandon.
Welcome, Brandon.
Welcome. Thank you for the welcome.
All right, now we'll rise and join in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, before we have the consent agenda, I have one item I'd like to add, a proclamation. So I'm going to do a proclamation for Pride Month in DeSoto, Kansas. Whereas our nation was founded on the principle of equal rights for all people, but the fulfillment of this promise has been long in coming for many Americans. Some of the most inspiring moments in our history have arisen from the various civil rights movements that have brought one group after another from the margins to the mainstream of American society. Whereas the movement toward equal rights for lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender LGBT people, a historic turning point occurred on June 28, 1969 in New York City with the onset of the Stonewall Riots. During these riots, LGBT citizens rose up and fought against the discriminatory criminal laws that have since been declared unconstitutional. And whereas LGBT pride celebrations have taken place around the country every June to commemorate the beginning of the Stonewall Riots, and whereas June is celebrated as LGBT Pride Month nationwide, and whereas DeSoto has a diverse LGBT community that includes people of all ethnicities, religions, and professions, and whereas everyone should be able to live without fear of prejudice, discrimination, violence, and hatred based on race, religion, gender identity, or sexual orientation. Now, therefore, I, Rick Walker, Mayor of the City of DeSoto, do hereby proclaim June 2021 as Pride Month in the City of DeSoto and urge all residents to respect and honor our diverse community and celebrate and build a culture of inclusiveness and acceptance. Adopted this 17th day of June 2021. And now for our first agenda item, a consent agenda approval of the minutes from the council meeting of June 3rd, approval of pay ordinance number 904, and approval of ordinance 2511, correcting the legal description of land annexed via ordinance 2508. Any discussion of any consent agenda items or a motion to accept?
I'll make a motion. We approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion of the motion? Roll call, please.
Lane.
Yes.
Daniel.
Yes.
Michael.
Yes.
Ritter.
Yes.
Murdoch.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, thank you. Item 2, call to public. Members of the public are welcome to use this time to comment about any matter relating to city business not listed on tonight's agenda. Anyone in the audience wish to address the council tonight under call to public? Anyone online, Mike, that might wish to do so?
No, I don't see anybody
Okay.
online.
Seeing none, we'll move on. Item 3, old business. Update on property at 8225 Delaware. Patrick?
Yes, Council. Pretty much all the information I have, I included in the memo in your packet. I did receive an email from Ms. Roberts a few days ago, and she confirmed that yes, things are just sort of at a standstill. Leave it up to you, as I put in the memo. Since you did take action to pause on us proceeding under the contract with the demo contractor, I think it'd be appropriate if everybody's in agreement that you want to move forward, if someone would make a motion giving staff that direction. I believe the contractor is ready to proceed as early as tomorrow with the demo.
Okay.
So,
Questions for Patrick? Anyone wish to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion. Directing staff to proceed under contract.
Second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Lane,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Hunamichael,
Yes.
Ritter,
Yes.
Murdoch.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. Item 4A, consider resolutions relating to GO and refunding bond sales.
Yes, council, I'll introduce this topic. Online with us tonight's Kevin Wimpy with Gilmore Bell. They're our financial advisors, and he's been working toward this bond issue that will happen next month. Tonight is the first steps in making that happen. As we discussed with our CIP budget updates early this year, we have in 2021 $1.1 million in bond funding to fund Ottawa Street reconstruction, a portion of the roundabout, and Lexington Avenue pedestrian crossing projects. There's also another $1 million programmed in next year for the remainder of the funding for Ottawa Street. We think within the current bonding environment that it makes sense to combine those two issues and issue both of those this year. In addition, at the end of last year, Gilmore, our financial advisor, Columbia Capital, always puts together a nice summary of our current indebtedness structure. And they identified at that time that there's a number of bonds that are currently callable that we could refinance now. And upon their recommendation, we've identified $4.6 million of those bonds to refinance. So what we want to do is bundle all of this into a $6.7 million offering to the market for next month. Columbia Capital performed a pro forma on the refinancing with what we would expect to have as our interest rates for the refinancing. In summary, it concludes that we'll save almost $800,000 over the next 22 years. With this transaction, that equates to about 0.4 mils every year for 22 years. So kind of a no-brainer to do this. And the bond amount is such that it should generate good interest in the market currently. So we did have, these will be a rated bond. We're selected Standard & Poor's to do our rating. We don't have that rating back. We had the rating call yesterday. It was a very positive call for us. So we're awaiting that. You know, our current bond rating is AAA minus. We don't expect there's any reason that would go down. It might go up. We don't know. But S&P confirmed that they'll have that rating in time for us to issue the bonds. So with that, the first steps are these two authorizing resolutions that you have in your packet. Just calling for the issuance of the bond. And I'll invite Kevin Wimpy if you have anything to add to that or take from it if I've misspoken. There's a bond calendar here. We are here on June 17th where you adopt the sales resolution and the publication of summary notice. The pricing is done July 1st with the closing on July 22nd. That's when the funds will become available. So I'll stop there, answer any questions, and I'll invite Kevin to chime in with any additional information he might have.
Questions for Mike or Kevin Wimpy? Okay. Kevin, did you have anything you wanted to add? Kevin Wimpy.
Thanks, Mayor. Being everyone, good to see you all virtually. Just real quickly, two separate actions, like Mike said. The first is a resolution under the Main Traffic Way Act that authorizes the issuance of bonds for these projects. And these street projects have already been declared as main traffic ways pursuant to the city's code. So adopting a resolution is the only step to put that authority in place. The second resolution is the usual go-to-market resolution. So with your approval of that, we'll finish up the rating process and put out an offering document for investors and take bids. So that on that July 1st date, we'll come back to you with bids from investors with the expectation we proceed with issuing bonds later in the month. I'm happy to stand for any questions.
Okay. Questions?
Do we have resolution numbers?
Do we have the, good question.
It's his first week.
It's the first, no,
I'll grab that
is there-
blue book.
Is there a book?
Yeah.
I didn't adequately prepare our new city clerk with the resolution numbers. Sorry about that. Why don't you have the blue book? No, you've not seen the blue book?
I don't know.
It's the first thing we should have done is give
Yeah.
him the blue book.
And take it home?
Yeah.
Might be Atlanta's house, yeah.
In my collar. I kept it.
It's in Patrick's office if I had my guess.
No resolution at the last meeting.
So now it's a race between Mike on the website.
1048 is the next resolution.
That's the first resolution.
Yeah.
So the second one, 1049.
Yep.
Patrick's up behind your foot.
Oh, thanks.
So I'll make a motion, we adopt resolution 1048, authorizing the improvement or re-improvement of certain main traffic ways within the city of DeSoto and providing for the payment of the cost thereof.
I'll second the motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion of the motion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Lane,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Huntermichael,
Yes.
Ritter,
Yes.
Murdoch.
Yes.
Motion passes.
And then
Okay.
I'll make a motion for resolution 1049, authorizing the offering for sale of general obligation improvement and refunding bonds, series 2021 of the city of DeSoto, Kansas.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Murdoch,
Yes.
Ritter,
Yes.
Huntermichael,
Yes.
Daniel,
Yes.
Lane.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. All right, we'll move on. Item B, consider temporary use, thank you, Kevin Wimpy, for joining us tonight. Item B, consider temporary use permit for MS 150.
All right, thank you, Mayor and Council. As another sign that things are returning to normal conditions post-COVID, the MS 150 is back. So they have submitted their temporary use permit application. It's pretty much identical as previous years. They would like to use the area behind the building, City Hall Saturday and Sunday. They put up signs, they come many times, they know what they're doing. Sometimes they grill. They haven't asked for a shelter permit yet, but I did direct them to Jay Garvin for if they want to rent the shelter and have access to water, they need to take care of that, but that's an administrative type issue. As you recall, last year, we actually did approve this, but the event was canceled. But this year, things are looking very positive on recovery, so they have submitted this for their 2021 ride. And I will stand for any questions you may have.
Questions for Brad on the MS 150 temporary use permit? Or a motion?
I'll make a motion. We approve the temporary use permit for the MS ride.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Murdoch,
Yes.
Ritter,
Yes.
Hanamichael,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Lane.
Yes.
The mayor votes on this one
Oh,
as
I'm
well.
sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry. Excuse me.
It's all right.
Motion passes.
All right. Item C, consider bids for pump replacement at the main.
Yes, council, this is my item. Doug came to me a couple of months ago with the situation. The main lift station was constructed in 2006. It has 3 pumps in there. We've since replaced 2 of the pumps, but one of them is still original equipment. On a normal day, 1 pump is enough to keep up, but when it rains, usually 2 are needed. Typically, we rotate those so they all wear evenly, but recently the oldest pump is capacity is diminished, it's just wearing out. So it needs to be replaced. So Doug obtained 3 bids. The lowest bid was from Environmental Process Systems in the amount of $27,124. We'd like to proceed with that acquisition. In addition, we'll take the old one and have it rebuilt and placed, on a shelf there in reserve, so that if something catastrophic happens to one of the 3, then we have a backup on hand. Funding, we're going to use funding from the sewer maintenance fund. We have $43,000 budgeted in that fund this year. Remember, that's one of those asset management funds that rolls over each year. So this is an extremely appropriate use of those funds. So that's what we intend to do. If you care to move forward, just please make a motion accepting the quote from Environmental Process Systems.
Okay, any questions for Mike? Or a motion to accept the bid?
Yeah, I'll make a motion. We accept the quote from Environmental Process Systems in the amount not to exceed $27,124.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Murdock,
Yes.
Ritter,
Yes.
Hanamichael,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Lane.
Yes.
Okay,
Motion passes.
all right. Item D, consider fleet management lease agreement with Enterprise Fleet Management.
Yes, council, I'll introduce this, give the background, and online with us, we have Brandon Scott from Enterprise Fleet Management Systems. He'll give a little presentation on the concept. I think it was in May during our budget discussion, I introduced the idea of the fleet lease program as a way to kind of replace what has been our vehicle equipment replacement program. Typically, we buy a new truck and borrow from the electric reserve and pay that off over a 4 or 5 year period and keep that truck another 3 or 4 or 5 years, and depending on its condition, and then sell it on Purple Wave and buy a new truck. And that's been working fine for us. But this program would have us lease new vehicles for rolling stock for the light utility pickups, and that's kind of what we're aiming at for this year. Rolling stock, that means like the F-150 type of a full-size pickup. We're looking at no more than a 24-month lease. With Enterprise's system, they can recoup, we can buy them at such a government discount, and then at the end of 1 year or 2 years service, they can sell them within their nationwide distribution of markets. They can sell them at a price that we can recoup. And so what that does for us on a yearly lease basis is it reduces the cost significantly. So in the 2022 budget, the draft budget now, we're contemplating four new trucks. So what we want to do is start with a kind of a pilot, a trial program for those 4 vehicles. 3 of those are replacing older vehicles, but 1 will be a new addition to the fleet. And so when I wrote the report, and this was a week before the packets went out, I was thinking we were kind of aiming for a 2-year lease, and at that time we didn't have the lease pricing because the manufacturers had not yet come out with their new model year pricing or incentives. We've since got that pricing, and Brandon and I met earlier this week to go over that pricing. And as it turns out, it's going to be a lot more cost effective for us to just lease it for 1 year because the resale is so much higher. And Brandon can go through those in his portion. But we're recommending a 1-year lease for those 4 vehicles. The most, I think, exciting part for us is one of the vehicles we want to try, one of the new Ford all electric Ford vehicles, the Lightnings, the all electric. We don't want to do it with all 4, but one is a trial, and it's a perfect scenario for us with a lease, a fleet lease situation where the vehicle's back home, every night. We never go more than 20 or 30 miles with it, and so the recharging stations makes sense. And also Ford, the specs on the thing are fantastic. I mean, the horsepower, the torque, and the price is great too. I mean, the base models they're less than $50,000 for the base models. So really want to try one of those. So in terms of the budget, and I'll let Brandon kind of go through how the budget really works. But in our 2022 budget, of course, these lease rates, we're contemplating purchases of new vehicles. So our thought was we purchase a new vehicle for $25,000 or $28,000 and pay the electric reserve fund back. The numbers we have in here are from that. So $54.58 would be the annual lease rate on one of these. One of them was a little higher because we're maybe wanting an F-250, but we'll see on that. So with the lease rates that are proposed with the enterprise, the current pricing will be significantly under those. So the budget will be impacted positively. So I want to stop there. The other thing I wanted to bring to your attention, I'm sorry, before I stop. In the staff report, I was contemplating that the 3 vehicles that we'll be replacing we'd deed those over to Enterprise, and then they would sell them on their network and rebate that money back to us. I don't think it makes sense to do that. I think we'll just sell these just on Purple Wave like we have been, and then start fresh with Enterprise. So the trucks will remain theirs, and at the end of the 1-year lease, they take them, sell those on their market. We get new trucks, theoretically. So none of this binds us to doing anything other than the first year lease. It's a 1-year lease. Doesn't bind us to continuing the program for future replacements or anything. In the end, at the end of the evening, I'd like your approval to move forward because time is a factor. With the global chip shortage, pre-orders for new vehicles with all the vendors, if we don't pre-order these things within July, probably, certainly by August, we might not get new vehicles for next year. It's that tight. So typically we would be doing this in November or December in anticipation for the new year. But we need to move that ahead this year because of the shortage. So now I'll stop. I think I've covered everything I wanted to cover verbally. I'd like to invite Brandon to give his presentation. He promises to keep it short. And Ron Creason is here too in the audience if you have any questions or comments for him.
Very good. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate the introduction there. And I think, you you may need to quit your day job because you did a really fantastic job of kind of explaining the overview of the program. But appreciate you all having me this evening. Certainly not a new concept to where we're at in the government space. Once we started doing police vehicles 3-4 years ago, we've really expanded our book of business in the government space. We've gone from about 1,000 government clients 5 years ago to almost 1,600 government clients today. And so, next slide, if you would, Mike.
Yeah, I'm getting there. Here we go. Yep.
There you go. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to find the optimal time to replace every vehicle that's in your fleet and get rid of vehicles before operating expenses increase. The longer you hold the vehicle, the more it's going to cost over the course of time. Fuel economy gets worse over the course of time. The opportunity cost of not switching to a more fuel efficient vehicle. Obviously, once you drive a truck off the lot, it's worth less than it was 10 minutes prior. And at some point, whether it's a 15-year-old, 20, 25-year-old truck, it's not going to continue to lose a lot of value because it's already lost most of its value to that point. So next slide. We're not necessarily here to sell the quote unquote cheapest vehicles or whatever's cheapest on state contract. We're trying to figure out an analysis for every different municipality based on how they spec out each one of their vehicles and find what we call the lowest total cost of ownership. So considering maintenance, fuel economy, and really importantly, resale on the back end. You know, if you've got an F-150 and a Ram 1500, I'm just throwing out examples, you know, an F-150 may cost $1,000 more on the front end, but if it's going to sell for $2,000 more on the back end, that's going to lower your total cost of ownership. And so we would steer you in that direction. And so not necessarily, like I said, here to sell you the cheapest front end vehicle, because we want to find the vehicles that's going to provide the most bang for your buck. Next slide. And so, yeah, what Mike talked about is, you know, from an acquisition standpoint, normally we're ordering early in the model year, September, October timeframe, and vehicles, you know, we're timing the market saying, hey, vehicle number 23, it's going to be at its optimal point to cycle out in March. So we'll order it in the fall so that it shows up in the March. New vehicle shows up, we take the old vehicle, turn it into money, or you sell it on Purple Wave, whatever, and then to be able to maximize that resale. Next slide. So what we've seen since this COVID happened, manufacturers stopped producing vehicles and they start producing PPE and ventilators. And so there's obviously this massive shortage of vehicles everywhere across the country. And what that's doing is it's only increasing the price of vehicles out of stock at dealers. And so when you factory order them, you get to spec them out exactly how you want with no more or no less equipment than what you want or need. And so by doing that, you're really lowering the front end acquisition cost on the vehicles. Next slide. However you pay for them is certainly fine, whether you pay cash or you know, or open-ended equity lease. Most people, when they hear the word lease, they cringe a little bit, but I can tell you our equity lease is very different. If you go to the slide with the blue arrow, the next one, Mike. So this is how our traditional equity lease works. In this example, we've got a 2021 Ford F-250 regular cab, four-wheel drive pickup, very normal in the government space on our traditional 5-year term, averaging 10,000 miles a year. You got your, you know, $40,000 initial acquisition price, less your ballpark $10,000 government incentive. That's how you come up with the initial vehicle cost of $30,400. In this example, you pay it down, you've got your monthly payments over the course of 5 years, you pay it down to a small residual, in this example, $7,600. What's very different about our equity lease and your traditional dealership lease or closed-ended lease is in this example, and what 98% of our government clients do, is they go with this option because we turn around and sell the truck 5 years later for $20,300. It's got a remaining principal balance or reduced book value of $7,600. So what's very different is we give the municipality the difference between the resale value and the remaining principal balance. So that $12,700 in equity, that's the city of DeSoto's money. And so we, by pumping and injecting those funds back into the budget, that's helping lower your total cost of ownership over the course of time. Now, we've certainly changed our philosophy over the last couple of years. If you go to the next slide, Mike. And we're coupling the government buying power along with our resale network. And so you've got, in this example, you know, a 2020, if we're looking backwards, a 2020 F-250, this one extended cab 4x4 pickup, you know, if the average acquisition cost at the time was $36,000, state contract pricing, $28,400, and you turn around and sell that truck 1 year later with 10,000 miles on it, you're literally going to sell it for more than what you acquired it for. And so our ability to time the market and put some of these vehicles on a shorter cycle really helps inject that equity back into your fleet right away. And so that's what we've, you know, that's what we've been targeting for a lot of our clients. So, Mike, I think a lot of the other slides are going to kind of get into the weeds. So,
Okay.
you know, I think we're probably good.
Do you want to go to your
together? Yeah, I was going to say the fleet profile and the fleet synopsis. And so in summary, you know, what we're trying to do at the end of the day is, hey, got an aged fleet, 59% of the city's fleet is, you know, not up to safety standards, airbag standardization, anti-lock brakes. electronic stability control. And so, normal cycle, it's going to take 14 years to get those vehicles cycled out and up to date with just safety standards. So that's just another one of those ancillary pieces of our program that helps you get to that point. Ultimately, the results, we're looking at a long-term savings, 26%, which may not seem like a lot, but when you're talking about $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 vehicles and a large quantity of them, that certainly adds up over the course of time. Maintenance expenses, when you shift your fleet from an average age of 14 years to an average age of 3 or 4, that's going to significantly reduce your maintenance expenses. Fuel economy is going to improve. You're certainly not the first to come on board. Other counties just brought on Ellis County, Kansas last Monday, actually. So quite a few. And then, below that next page, Mike, I've got the fleet profile and the analysis that we put together for the city of DeSoto and kind of a high level view of, hey, here's where the city's at in terms of the fleet and some different projections of what we see in the market. But and then the very last page there is a case study from one of your neighbors over at the city of Lenexa. So, I don't want to get too far into the details. Certainly want to open it up for questions and discussion and gather thoughts.
Okay.
Brandon, I have this, thought I had put it up here. The pricing analysis that you did.
Yeah, is it in? It would have been in that, that one, that presentation.
That
Maybe
one?
further
Into that?
down. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Could you go through that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. And so there's a whole bunch of numbers going on here. I'll start at the top because that's going to be the simplest way to do this. So in this model, we're looking at 3 vehicles. So the total annual cost that we're estimating for those 3 vehicles is $22,464. The amount of equity we have in the city-owned vehicles, the 3 that you go and sell on Purple Wave, we estimate they're valued at $8,600. So the first 12 months budget that you're going to need to replace 3 vehicles is $13,814. What happens is at the end of this, so you've got your annual payment, we're estimating, we don't have final pricing yet. Ford and GM have not released their pricing yet for the half-ton pickups for the 22 model year yet. But from what we estimate, I think really conservatively, if we're looking at 2022 Ford F-150 extended cab 4x4 V8 engine pickups, power features, tow capability, spray and bed liner, running boards, chrome bumpers, simply for resale. 2 of those on a 1-year term, averaging 10,000 miles, monthly lease cost $638, maintenance. So your total annual cost per truck $79.56. That times 2 trucks is $15,912. Mike, if you'll scroll down to the next slide. So that's the annual first year's cost. So that third line that's highlighted in green font, if we turn around and sell those trucks 1 year later, approximately 10,000 miles on them, we anticipate we're going to sell them for $36,500. They'll have a remaining principal balance paid down to $30,621. So in a year, we're literally going to give you a new truck and a check for $5,879 per truck. And all the maintenance is included. And you live in a different world of very low maintenance, very low downtime, way better fuel economy, and a newer, safer, fresher, cleaner, more efficient fleet. And so if you go back up, Mike, that $5,879 times 2 trucks is how you come up with the $11,758. And so your annual cost to replace those 2 trucks is $2,077 per truck. Cost less the equity coming back to you after a year. So that's how you come up with, up there at the top, it says total equity at term of $18,293. That's the equity from 3 vehicles, 2 F-150s and 1 of those Chevy Traverses. So it's certainly a different concept. And most people would say, why in the world would you get rid of a 1-year-old truck that has absolutely nothing wrong with it? Well, I would say because you're buying low and we're selling high. And so by pumping those funds back in, you're lowering your total cost of ownership for the city.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how the financial aspect of it works. We don't have any sort of idea what we're going to see for the new technology, the Ford F-150 Lightning. We don't know what Ford is going to give from a front end government bid assistance standpoint. So kind of on standby until the fall once the order bank's open there. But we've got 3 vehicles here that we've estimated pricing on, and then we've got the 4th F-150 Lightning that Mike kind of talked about earlier, that pretty excited about. We don't have a whole lot of municipalities doing electric vehicles yet, so kind of being on the cutting edge of some new technology.
Yeah, so I think the final piece then, Council, is, and one thing to keep in mind is we're going to order these, in July or August, but they're not going to come in until March. They won't come in until next year. So we're not going to be spending any, we won't have any lease payments or anything until after the first of the year. That's the first thing to keep in mind. What we're asking you to do tonight is authorize me to sign the master lease agreements documents that Enterprise has, and Patrick has had a chance to review those. He's had a few revisions that he asked for and got from Enterprise. Patrick, is that true? Are we good on all the revisions?
Yes.
Okay. There are several of those documents. I'd like you to authorize me to sign those, and then proceed with the acquisition, the lease agreements for the 3 pickups. And then we're just going to have to wait and come back to you, later in the fall with the electric, because we just don't have the pricing. We only have an estimate on those yet. So that's the ask tonight, to authorize me to sign the last release agreements and proceed with the acquisition of the 3 light utility pickups.
Okay. Questions for Mike?
Yeah, question. I'm excited that you're trying out one of the electrics. I'll be curious when they actually start delivering those. I assume you'll have to do some sort of charger unit installation somewhere that'll be nominal, but
Yeah, that's right. You can actually just plug them into a 110 outlet.
you can, but I assume you're going
to
to want to go up to the 220.
Yeah, we go up to the 220, and that charges 4 to 6 hours. There's also the commercial charging stations that are 50,000, but that doesn't make sense for us.
We also have been working with Evergy, and actually one of the locations they were looking at putting, so they're looking at a fast charger somewhere in the Commerce Corridor, but there were 2 other chargers that maybe somewhere, and maybe City Hall or the parking lot in back or something is the spot where that goes too, could go. A community use that would also benefit us.
We have 2 departments kind of fighting over it right now. We need to decide who's going to get this electrical. We haven't made that call yet.
Hey, Mayor, I have a question for you. Were you able to find out the name that you needed for those charging units from Evergy? I have found that name for you. I just need to forward it to you.
Yeah, we've had a lot of conversations. We made some good progress on that. So. And I'm sorry I hijacked your.
No, that was all I had.
All right.
Yep, that was it.
Anyone else?
If there's no other questions, I'll make the necessary motion to give Mike the authority to execute the documents with Enterprise Fleet Management.
I'll second it.
All right.
Everybody likes
It's a lot of interest in seconding that one.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Lane.
Yes.
Daniels.
Yes.
Huntermichael.
Yes.
Ritter.
Yes.
Murdoch.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. Very good. And this was another thank you, Brandon. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
Brandon. Yep.
Thank you very much.
Item E, consider rezoning of property at 30665 West 95th Street.
Yeah, council, just ask for you to table that item because of that property is the property that you corrected the legal description. And although our regulations allow the public hearing on a rezoning to be held before property is annexed, to do the actual rezoning, it obviously needs to be within the city, and the correction will not be effective until the ordinance is published, so
Okay.
that won't be till Tuesday, so.
Could I have a motion to
I'll
table?
make a motion, we table agenda item 4E.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. So we will move on to the placeholder budget discussion. Is it more
Yeah.
than a placeholder tonight, Mike?
Well, a little bit more, added just a little bit. Yesterday, we got the county's final certification of the assessed valuations, and it came in just slightly higher than the number that we've been using all along. So our actual, as proposed right now in the budget documents, everything all together, general fund mills just over 14, law enforcement still at 5.2, debt service still at 4. 23.223 mils, that's just down by 1/100 of a mil from before. So essentially nothing changed there with the mill picture. This is the clerk's certification of the assessed valuation. This year with the new revenue neutral law, the county clerk gives us a mill rate, a revenue neutral mill rate, that would essentially generate the same property tax collection dollar amount that we collected last year. There's no provisions for inflation. There's no provisions for growth of any city. So I think we discussed last time we talked about the budget, we will be exceeding this revenue neutral rate. So you can see it's at 22.4. Would be all right. We'd have to lower our mill levy to that amount, and that year on year compounds itself, obviously. So my recommendation is to you that we will be exceeding that revenue neutral rate, which adjusts our calendar backward a bit. The county also sent us this form. This is all it is right here. We need to get this to the county by July 20th. That will trigger them to send notifications out. We would then hold a public hearing about exceeding the revenue neutral rate. Was it, Brandon, not before August 20 and not after September 20? Is that the?
Yes, so August, it can't be any time before August 20th, but it can't be as late as September 20th.
Yeah. So we hold that hearing, and then the budget isn't due to the county until October 1. So and then this timeline kind of spells that out. But that's really all I had on the budget, unless there's anything else on the budget that you guys have seen and want to discuss or bring up at all. But still working on the budget narrative and the whole entire budget document. And we'll be tweaking the state forms with the new assessed valuations.
Okay.
That was it.
Questions? All right.
Mayor,
Yeah,
just
go ahead,
one for
Kevin.
Mike, real quick. We discussed with the county no more mistakes on that issue.
Well, I can't promise any that no more mistakes will be made by the county appraiser office, but we will do our level best to make sure that we catch them before they become a disaster. Every year they do give us, and with this notification we got this week, they give us the list of issues that are currently at the Board of Tax Appeals, which could impact our mill levy. So we'll comb over those carefully and make sure that we have a full understanding of what those are and what impacts they might have on us.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question?
It did. Thank
Okay,
you. for the
thanks.
explanation.
All right. Item 5, executive session. None?
None.
Okay. Item 6, advisory reports. Mike?
Council, I don't have anything, I don't have anything to report. I'll answer any questions you might have.
Okay. Patrick, city attorney.
Nothing for me. Thank you.
City planner.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a brief update.
You gotta go to the microphone first.
Oh.
Sorry.
Yeah.
We provide you this technology, we want you to use it.
Well, I know, but this one is, button's not lined.
The mayor's got the button.
I turned you on.
Gotcha.
I got you last
You
time.
got the control. All right. Briefly, as you know, Mayor, you signed the CDBG subrecipient agreement, so I'll take that to the county tomorrow. As far as the Wea Street project, which we're doing a sidewalk and a water line replacement. We also are coordinated with Whitney. We did send out a little notice saying which side of the street the sidewalk would go on. When you walk the site, look at it, it's pretty clear it should go on the east side, but we just want to confirm that with with the residents. There were 8 recipients of letters, and then some of the owners, some of them were rental property, so we sent the owners of the property a letter as well. We got 3 responses through the web polling that we do, and all of them said they wanted it on the east side, which is what we thought would happen, but on a cover basis. So we will proceed with the agreement with the EDC and design the sidewalk on the east side.
Okay,
Questions?
questions?
My report.
Any questions for Brad on that? Nope. Thank you, Brad.
Hey, Mayor, while Brad's up there, could we talk about the Little Joe's project and how it's finished or not finished?
Sure.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, Kevin, we've gone out and inspected that. It is finished. They did have some delays, obviously. The month of May was quite rainy, but they did finish that project. And a couple places, as they worked on it, we did have some additional patching. They had to do full depth patching. So their bill might exceed the approved amount by a little bit, but we're still working with them on that.
Yeah, I noticed there was a like a 4x10 patch right in the middle of the 84th Street project. Was there an issue with that location after they paved, or?
You want to? I knew it was a low spot. Okay, well, he said 84th Street. I'm not sure.
And I may have the wrong street. It was in that subdivision.
Okay, because 98th Street is where we ran into a little bit of a soft spot when they were paving out there, where they had to shave off some additional depth and fill that full patching. But 84th Street wasn't part of the Little Joe's project as far as our 2021 street repairs. It was just the Cherishtown subdivision and Taylor Court. And I guess 84th.
Yeah, this one was out of Taylor Court. It's the first cul-de-sac, and it's right in the center of the street. Looks like it was an added patch after the initial lay. That's why it's there.
Ron says that was holding water, so they need to put some crown into it. Yeah.
Yeah, it looked decent. I just wondered what happened.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Brad. Brandon, City Clerk, any report for the council tonight?
None today.
All right. Council comments. Danny, would you have anything to share?
Yeah, I want to thank the patching and repair along Cedar Creek. I had a couple of calls. They did a good job. People are happy with it. They commented about it on the pothole repair and patching along Cedar Creek. Just want to say thanks. Good job.
Thank you, Danny.
Thank you, Mayor.
Rob?
Nothing tonight?
Lori?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. In front of you all, you should have a public art display agreement. We had agreed to be a part of a public art, what was it? Public art in public places. Art in public places. And we chose a sculpture a meeting or two ago, maybe a couple meetings ago. And so we finally have come up with an agreement with our artist, which in this case was Mr. Tim Mispagel, with that welded steel sculpture called Native Spirit. So I would like you guys to kind of glance at this or read through it, but if possible, we'd like to get this moving forward and get this signed by the mayor so that we can get this piece of artwork displayed. And I think we've chosen to do it here at City Hall in the front. It says, I think here somewhere near the flagpole. I think we're working with Mr. Mispagel as far as what it's going to take to actually install the piece.
Okay.
So Patrick came up with this.
Yeah, and I would
It's
just say,
simple.
the artist was completely, I mean, he had no changes, so definitely he wasn't any cause for any delay. He, very easy to work with. So, and he said the piece already has a mounting plate on the bottom with 4 bolt holes, so there shouldn't be any cost for getting it installed. We thought, you know, obviously, if we had bolts, in the concrete to hold it down, that probably would be the best. But he's offered to be there when they install it and help with that, so.
Okay.
And
like
so
the-
if
I
you
like the
remember,
location.
if you remember, it was a $2,000 stipend to have it there for a year, so it'll be on display for a full year. It does state in here that we will be insuring the piece, and then there is a dollar amount in this contract already stating that if at the end, within 90 days out from it being removed, if we wish to purchase it, that dollar amount is already in this contract. And so at that point in time, we can decide if we want to use funds to purchase it. If not, it'll just go away, and we'll hopefully have another one by that point in time. And there was not another art piece entered into the art in public places call for artists for the fall. So we'll wait again until next year for the next one.
Okay. Any comments from anyone? Anyone have any issues with moving forward with this agreement?
Can I make a motion? Then we authorize the mayor to sign the agreement with Tim Mispegel.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion, a second. Roll call, please.
Lane,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Monaco,
Yes.
Ritter,
Yes.
Murdoch.
Yes,
Motion passes.
Okay. Anything else?
that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Kevin Hanemichael.
Just maybe to comment to state the blatantly obvious, as we return to in-person meetings, I'm presuming that participants for all city meetings will still be able to do remote meetings going forward. I'm presuming that, our technology is now a permanent matter. I know I've had it come up kind of in our work where, man, we really hope all the cities keep the remote participation there as a means to make it more convenient for other folks to participate. So I presume I'm stating the obvious.
For me, you are, yes.
Okay.
I assume we're keeping the technology. And
Yes.
I like any means we can to, certainly our business communities to get that. I mean, it's, saves them and their clients money if they don't have to travel to come here, and they can, they can be here if they need to be here in person, but, most of what they can do remotely, as Brandon did tonight with the Enterprise and Kevin Wimpy did, so. No, and Kevin Ritter, I'm sure appreciates being able to use it tonight because he couldn't quite make it here tonight, so.
Yes, I apologize for that. I did plan on attending and I would, I'd like to keep it. I'm all for that.
All right.
That's all.
So Kevin Ritter, that's your segue. Any comments for the group tonight?
Yeah, I'm gonna be a spoiler. With the final project of the mill, or the overlay out here at Cherry Stokes, great work, looks great. There was, I did notice there was a couple of places that you guys did fix. But it has left some, it didn't seem like the crown worked out as well, like on some of the edges. So it's left several yards with 4-inch asphalt that are gonna cause mowing issues. So I didn't know if you had planned to assist with any topsoil replacement, or we're just gonna leave that on those folks to do that.
Well, as far as
Brad, you got it. Brad will have his own microphone.
The original project out there was to mill the edges down to the level of the soil like we did on,
Post oak.
Post Oak. And when we walked the site, Ron, myself, and Representative Little Joe's, we had some issues with some of the milling areas we're going to mill, so those areas were raised. Now, those weren't part of our original bid, was to do any kind of backfilling on the edges, because we didn't have to on the way we set it up on the bid package. So I imagine Ron will have to go back ourselves and add some topsoil. I think it's mostly right, Kevin, right around your house in that area on 98th Street and Waverly that's the worst. I did notice there's a few areas, there's probably 3-4 inches of fall from the edge of the new asphalt to to the grass area.
Yes. Well, thank you for the response. I drove it as well. It looks like most of it is on 98, not on any of the cul-de-sacs. So I just didn't know if there was a plan. Just that way, when the neighbors start asking, I can fill them in if it's gonna be their responsibility or ours.
Okay. We can make that happen.
Thank you for the answer. That's all I have, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Well, I kind of gave my update. The only thing I was going to update you on was our progress on the charging station. I did that earlier. We made some good progress. Harps has declined to participate, so we're going to go to our second potential and reach out to Dobsky and McDonald's and see if we can get them interested. And then if they're not, we'll just keep going down the road. But we'll find somebody out there that wants a charging station.
Well, you're not there that long.
I'm thinking it
Because
might
you're just
be
asking them to give up parking space.
right,
basically.
parking space
Yeah.
and signs something that
Waiver.
yeah, right. So, but we're moving forward. I did, Kate or Evergy's 100% behind it. They said, yep, they're with us, and they did offer then, in addition to that high-speed one at Commerce, it's a double station that takes a little longer. It's not as fast, but they suggested a spot maybe somewhere around City Hall here, or downtown. So, City Hall sounds like a good spot around back by the pool or something. But that was my report, so that's all I got tonight.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
This conference is no longer being recorded.